Jeanette with Flying Pig Artworks. Thank you so much for joining me with this video. I hope that you enjoy it and maybe learn something new. This is going to be the last video in a series that I started experimenting with spray paint. It was a spray paint called Looking Glass, and it's silver with a mirror type finish. And so what I wanted to do is see how the spray paint would incorporate in different types of pouring mediums using different kind of fluid art pours. So what inspired me was to start this series was this painting that I started here when I began doing fluid art. And what I had done was I did just a simple flip cup here, and then I did spray paint on the top, and that's the gold that you're seeing there. So it was a pretty neat effect, and I'm going to complete this series by actually doing another piece using that same technique. I'm going to do that now, and then I'll go over the finished pieces so you can see how they turned out when they dried. So I'll see you soon. Hello. So today I'm going to be using Candy Pigments, and I really love using this. It incorporates really good into our mediums, and they look really great when they dry. I really like these. So I just wanted to do a quick tutorial here to show you how I mixed up the pigments here. I just put a little bit of varnish in a cup, which helps disperse the pigments. I put in just kind of enough, probably, I don't know, maybe about a tablespoon in there. You don't really need that much. If you were to put it straight into the Floetrol, it's not going to mix very well. It's gonna, or at least it'll probably take a long time. So I just kind of eyeball here. This is one of my favorite colors. It's called Dark Oob. I think it's Oob, I'm not sure actually. UBE, Ooby. All right. And it's important to wear a respirator, a mask, when you're mixing, because the pigments are not safe to breathe in. They can go into your lungs and they can make you sick. So we don't want to get sick from having fun doing art. That's saturated. And I'm going to put some Floetrol in there now. What I do is I put a little mesh on top of my Floetrol, so that way it catches the little chunkies there. That's kind of notorious for getting. And I'm probably going to fill this cup about halfway up. Or actually more, 3/4. There we go. Mix now. So with the Floetrol, it's going to look just a little cloudy, but it will clear when it dries. And it'll be totally awesome and amazing. The color that we put on the first in here, it's going to be the one that's going to be on the top. And since I love this dark oob here, dark purple, I'm going to put that one in first. Yeah, I'm just going to put in like maybe half there. I think next, let's see here. Yeah, no, let's go with this one. This color is called Rusty. Rusty. And yeah, we'll do this next. It's gonna be interesting. Nokon Blue here. That lighter blue is like a Carolina blue. What I like to do is just save a little bit of paint also. I'll put a lid on these cups, and they're really nice to have to touch up your artwork if you need to. like to do the flippin' lip because it makes a really cool little pattern there. Oh, look at that rusty, isn't that beautiful? I love that. So what I'm gonna do is just torch this real quick. Oop, there we go. Now with air bubbles. Ooh. Looking glass there, that's what it looks like. Get a little spray off to the side here. For the alcohol. So this is the first painting I did, incorporating the Looking Glass spray paint. So I did a straight pour and turned the canvas while I was pouring, and I used Floetrol for all the colors in here, and then I also used the Floetrol with the Looking Glass paint. So what I did was, when I layered the paint, I put the Looking Glass in first so it would just kind of end up on top. And what happened with this one, the wet results were really cool, and as it dried, everything just kind of flattened. And what I did was I varnished this piece. It kind of brought out the colors a little bit, but still there's not that much contrast. So you can see some of the Looking Glass here, the definitions. I think if I were to try the Looking Glass spray paint again in Floetrol, I would shake it up despite getting air bubbles, because it just does not mix well. But this was probably one of the least exciting effects that I got, to be quite honest. Then I did a different technique. I did a flip cup. Alright, so I did a flip cup for this one here. And I did the same thing with mixing all of the paint colors with Floetrol, including the Looking Glass. And with the Looking Glass, I layered the Looking Glass first at the bottom of the cup, so when it got flipped over it would be at the top. And also did a layer kind of in the middle of all the other paint colors as well. But it looked really amazing when it's wet, but again when it dried it went pretty dull. So I did varnish this one also to kind of help bring out the colors and the contrast. And it made a pretty interesting pattern here. I noticed that like the spray paint was doing that. It was kind of interesting. So that's that one. I did a different pouring mediums. So this one I mixed with the house paint deep base, and it was Bear 8050. And so when I mix those, I'll mix the paints with a mixture of the Bear Deep Base and varnish for the pouring medium, and then a cell maker with some, what's it called, Australian Floetrol. and Amsterdam white paint. Okay, so for this one here, I used the bloom technique from the Sheely Australian artist. I just want to give her credit for that. It was the same concept. I didn't do that completely, but the concept was pretty close. And using my paint with using a deep base pouring medium that was mixed with varnish to create the pouring medium. And yeah, so for this one, I was able to incorporate the Looking Glass silver spray paint into the bare deep base with the varnish, and that actually turned out really good, and had some really great results on this one. So I'm really happy about that one. So for the pouring medium again was the bare deep base with varnish, and then mixed with just regular paint colors and pigments. It'll be in the video, posted in the video. But this one shifted a lot. It looked different when it was wet, but man, it had so many air bubbles in this one. But this one was a tree ring pour, and a lot of the contrast did get lost. I didn't use a base layer because there's just a lot of paint, and there was a really neat iridescent sheen from the Looking Glass, but it got lost when it dried. So I was really bummed about that. So there's not much contrast here. A lot got poured off. I wish I'd used less paint or perhaps even a larger canvas. All right, so for this one here was one of my favorites. I love the colors. I love doing palette swipes. I love doing swipes. They're just so much fun. They're so beautiful. They turn out really cool. This one was a loaded palette swipe, and again I used bare deep base with the Josanya varnish for the pouring medium. I did put a little bit of golden gack in there also. I changed up the color palette just to get some more contrast in there, and poured some of the Looking Glass on top. So instead of incorporating it, I put it on top. And so what you can see here when it dried, you can see there's a lot of areas here where there's the Looking Glass. And that turned out pretty cool. I didn't varnish this one. I just kind of left it the way it is right now. I did another painting here using a different kind of swiping technique. And I'm actually, really love this one. It cracked just a little bit, but that happens. I like to save my paint colors so I can touch up those cracks if I need to. But same thing here. I used the bare deep base with Josanya varnish. I layered the colors here, and then I drizzled the Looking Glass paint on the top. And then I used, swiped using a cut up plastic cutting board and a cell activator or cell maker. And it dried beautifully, but it shifted a little bit, but it has beautiful highlights of the silver in here. So that's one of the things that is just pretty much the best bet if you want to really show the silver, is to kind of layer it on the top there. But some of the silver is here, and when it is swiped, it kind of stays on top, and it's really beautiful. I'm still learning getting Dutch boards down. That's this guy here. Probably not the greatest. Did a split split canvas there, or split base. So what I did for this one, the colors were mixed with Floetrol, and this is the other one I did that day. You can see the silver almost looks like a cheetah or something like that. That's the silver there. So since the spray paint is so thin, I thought, well, yeah, maybe a Dutch pour would be good. And then I went on to try like the pearl pour technique, because those paints are extremely thin also. And also your upper layer is, you know, the thinnest, so, you know, why not use spray paint for that, right? So when I picked the cup up, the silver came out of the bottom, and so it was just a hot mess. And then I don't know, I just kept trying to mess with it, and it just kept going downhill from there. Oh man. But anyways, the pouring medium I used for this one was Liquitex gloss pouring medium. I used the silver looking glass spray paint, hand mixed in Floetrol, and I tried to spray rubbing alcohol on the spray paint here. It didn't have an effect on it just because everything was just too late. It was already starting to dry, and then I just started messing with it, and it just is a hot mess. So this one I did an open cup. There we go. And what I did was I mixed the colors with Floetrol. And then what I did was I put the spray paint in a cup and I poured it in also with the colors so it would come out with the colors. And it did. The silver though, there's a lot of really interesting areas of silver on here, but it just dried like so thin. You can't hardly even see it. So again, it looked neat when it was wet, but when it was dry, it's like okay. I mean, I think overall it's pretty, but it's not, I think, yeah, it's just not that great as far as the colors. Okay, so for this one here, I did a wandering ring pour. I think those are just a lot of fun to do. They can create really neat patterns. I used Floetrol for the pouring medium. And then what I did was for this one, I tried to use the silver looking glass spray paint. It was in the Floetrol, and what I wanted to do was thicken up a little bit, so I put some Elmer's glue in there, and it turned into like slimy, so that was definitely a no-go. I tried to put Liquitex pouring medium there too. It was not good. So what I did on this one with the silver, I actually did the Bare Deep base, and I thinned it with water, and then I layered it throughout, and it actually turned out really good to try it that way. So a lot of the silver is showing up. It's kind of light again. It's just kind of really matte, you know. I think if I varnished it, it might, you know, definitely pop out some colors in there, but you know, this is just experimenting and playing around and seeing what works and things like that. So that was that one there. All right, so this was the very last painting I did here. The pouring medium was Floetrol, and what I did the looking glass mixed in with the Bare again, and I did a puddle pour, and then I did a swipe on it. So I did little puddles of paint, and then I loaded up my palette knife and I did a copper color cell maker on there and swiped. It dried horribly bad though, lots of cracks in here, and I think it was due to a lot of paint left on here. And this was also wood too. I don't know if that makes a difference, but there was a lot of paint left. I didn't put any golden gack in there either. It shifted too, yay. But again, this is an experiment, and you can see that the silver did pop through. So that's actually pretty cool. Where the puddles of silver were, you know, it did work. This was so pretty before it dried. And so this, I think working on this would actually, you know, definitely be worth it. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for coming by and checking this video out. I really do appreciate it. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything at all, please feel free to share, like and subscribe. I just started affiliation with Candy Pigments as well. I really love using their colors, pigments. They're so beautiful. They work really well with pouring mediums, this fluid art paint, these techniques that we're using. They really mix very well. So I'll include the link under the video here if you guys want to go and explore. And if you buy anything using that link, it doesn't cost anything extra for you, but it does help me. save a little bit when I do purchase pigments from the company. So, which I definitely plan on intending to do and continue making videos because it's a lot of fun and I love to experiment. So again, please feel free to leave any comments or anything like that. So thank you guys again. I'm wishing you a most wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next video. We'll see what it is. Stay tuned.